Sister Alphonsus. She was a real mean, crabby old woman for her sister. And she only picked on certain ones. Cecile, I don't know, I didn't even look at the note. It's a little piece of square size of a stamp, big stamp. She told me to pass it to her cousin Johnny George behind me. Yeah, I didn't even give it to him. I swear Sister Alphonsus had eyes behind her head. She never looked, never turned around, because I was watching her. And she'll catch me with a note, and sure enough she did. She never even turned around. She was writing on the blackboard. And I never gave the note to Johnny. She took the note, she told me to hand it to her, so I gave it to her. I told her, that's not mine, that's Cecile Paul's. She told me to pass it to Johnny. And Sister make me put my hands out and use the yardstick on my hands until both hands were red. And that really hurt. And pin was just going up my arm, both sides. And she made me stand by the blackboard with my hands, sore hands on my head like this. Stand there like trying to show me to the other students that what they call a student when you're a dunce or something, trying to put shame in me. But she did that a second time, make me kneel down with my hands, sore hands on my head, for an hour every time. And I was saying that my dad was a chief, and him and Maurice Isidore from Scookoh was chief. These reserves were supposed to be one reserve then. And they couldn't travel to meet each other and talk about the reserves and the people. So they fixed it that Maurice will stay chief in Scookoh and look after Scookoh, and my dad, Nadleh. And when they did that, before they did that, they talk about pretty soon they're gonna make us go on a school bus because we were the closest to the school, and make room for the ones that are far away, like Fort St. James, Fort Ware, and wherever. And before that, my dad was picking us up on Friday after supper. And then he bring us back before supper on Sunday. So we'll have supper with the students. And this night I was coughing after we watched a film about Maria Goretti. She killed herself. There's a guy that was trying to grab her for some reason or other. Maybe he was gonna rape her or something. I mean, she was not gonna have no part of that. She ran around the table. Her parents and other elders were in a hayfield. They were thrashing wheat, barley, and they're doing it by hand. And they never realized what was happening at the house. They all eat in the same house, and she had lots of dishes to wash. That's what she was doing, and she was taking care of babies and little kids. In the show, I remember that show all the time since I seen it. It reminds me of Lejac school, that show. I didn't know what I was getting myself into when I was a kid. I used to play with Ernie and Buddy and Ben and Cecile and Doris, because there wasn't other kids around me. My brother Ronnie was too small. He's always staying home. I ended up playing with Ernie and them. We play hide and go seek, kick the can, you know, and whoever kicked the can before the one that's counting finest, he used to be the winner. And then other times we used to play tag. And then I started playing ball. Going upstairs after that film they showed us about Maria Grady, I started coughing at the bottom of the stairs. And I tried to not to cough, because I knew, somehow I knew sister was gonna pick on me for coughing. Because I think a few nights before that, somebody else was coughing and she picked on that person. And by the time I got ready and got into bed, I couldn't stop coughing. Whatever punishment I get, I gotta cough it out. My throat was really itchy, I couldn't stop it. I wasn't sick or getting sick or anything. It's more like an allergy or something. That's why I was coughing. I do that quite often. My dad used to do that at home. I realized years later that I must be taken after him. Anyways, sister came out of her room, asked who's coughing. As if it really bothered her for coughing. Say, them girls told on me, and the ones that were having their bed closer to her room, they told on me, and she came after me and just yanked me out of bed. Make me kneel down all night by her room. Next morning, she clapped her hands and wake up all the students. It's time to get ready. And I was still kneeling there. She told me to get up then go get ready. I'd go in the bathroom and wash up and everything. Then we line up to go downstairs to, this is 5 o'clock in the morning. We have to go to chapel. That was just a regular morning. Going to the chapel and we say prayers. The priest say benediction, and that's high mass for us. And a lot of it was in Latin. I never understood Latin. I was 8. Because my birthday was going to be in October. This was September. I just started school when I was 8. I remember 4 senior girls ran away from the school. There's Catherine Prince, Martha Frank. Catherine is sister to Nick Prince from Fort St. James. And Martha Frank, she comes from McLeod Lake. And there was Aggie George. And Vera Seymour, Aggie was from Fort, she married to George. And Vera was from Shelley. My dad even helped the press round up them girls. I really have no idea why the parents didn't put a stop to them. It seems like all those years, even from when they first started school in Fort St. James, it seems like they just let things happen to everybody. Because a lot of students before me and after me, or when I was there and after me, kept getting punished. Especially when we talk our own language. They really punish us for talking our own language. My dad, he talked about it when he was going to school in Auntie Lee's. They were going by each other in a corridor. And Auntie Lee's and the girls are lined up 2 by 2, and the boys were 2 by 2, they're passing each other. And my dad met his sister, Auntie Lee's. They talk to each other in our language. Auntie Lee's or my dad ask each other a question in our language, and all one of them had to say was yes or no. And I think she asked my dad something, and then he said no in our language. And right now they got strapped. They always remember that, getting strapped just for saying yes or no. I think that was pretty, how could people be so mean? When I was going to school, I couldn't understand why we were getting so much punishment. Those girls that ran away, Mother Superior, that was Mother Noella, her name was. I just remember Sister Superior, Sister Noella. Anyways, she was in front, and those girls were walking behind with one other sister. I think it was Sister Joan. They were going in the bathroom. They call it the lavatory. And they got punished in there. They could hear those girls screaming, hollering their heads off, because they were using, you know, that belt in the sawmill, that it's so thick. They cut it about that long, and they got a handle on the other end, and they just strapping them. They were really hollering. And I just started school then, and I was crying for them, crying along, because they were hollering, they were hurting. And my cousins Cecile and Doris, they tell me, quit crying or else sister will come and punish you too, because you're crying. And don't let sister catch you. I had to learn things the hard way what did I get myself into? My mother didn't want me to go to Lejac school because they'd been there and they knew all the punishments they were getting. And I learned years later that I was married and had children of my own. I learned that the government was making these people do that to us. And I couldn't understand why they wanted us to not use our language. They were trying to make white people out of us. I realized that then. And I look at myself in the mirror, I said, they couldn't change the color of my skin. You gotta be absolutely white before they lots of things went on in that school. One of the things I remember is that some of the girls, they work in a bakery. They have this big round dish and they're pounding it, making bread, yeast bread. Some of them girls, because they bake the bread in the oven and come out cooked, they slice it up with a bread slicer, and one of the girls got cut from sister. She was eating bread. She got punished for that. A lot of punishment. I try to stay out of it, mind my own business, keep out of the way so I don't get that strap. I seen lots of things the boys and the girls did. They got punished every time. And I think a lot of the kids that went to the school never knew why we keep getting punished. I never forgot speaking my own language because my dad moved us back from Stony Creek. I was born there in my grandpa's house because they were living with my grandpa, and my grandpa was a widower and he was living alone, and my mother had to help him. So my dad, when I was born in his house, 4 days after I was baptized in that Stony Creek church. And then we had to move out. My uncle, my mother's older brother, Edward, had a bigger house. And Mom talked to Edward and we had to move in with him because they took my grandpa to the hospital. The hospital just got built that time, not very long, and that was around, I was about 6 years old, 43. That was 48 when my dad moved us back here to my grandmother. I was only a little kid to hear my parents talking, and my dad was asking my mother to move back here. He said he come from here, and then his only mother live here. The only grandparent the kids are gonna have, he said. And my mother agreed with him because my grandpa passed away. And after staying with my grandmother, I was following her around everywhere she went. One Sunday morning she was putting her sweater on and she was searching her pockets, and I talked to her in her own language and I asked her, "Where are you going now?" She said she was going to church, and she said in her language, "Lemesti Tesia." I asked her, "Can I come with you?" "Sure, right, you come with me. It's time for you to learn," she said in our language. Most all talk in our language and I understand them fluently. And go pick berries, her and Ernie's mom, Buddy's mom. And Buddy's mom is first cousin to my mother. Just like Martin's dad, brother and sister, so Martin's dad is mom's first cousin. My name is Marlene. Auntie Ronick, when she baptized me, she was my only godmother. She named me Marlene. And then my parents second that was Rita. My maiden name is Ketlo. And I was married to Peter George, 21 years. And then I got divorced because I was getting punished from him for every time he's drinking, he's sleeping around with other women all over. I didn't learn that. I was so, mind my own business, don't want to get involved in people. I didn't know he was doing that. Took me 5 years to learn what he was doing. So I got, he used to come home and then he used to beat me up. And then I finally got divorced because he just about broke my back in half, kicking me. But I remarried after Joe Morin. That's my name, my last name now. I told him, I said I never want to get married. I never wanted to see another man be married to. He asked me why. I said, if you so much as slap me on the face, I said, I don't want you. Because that's what happened to me in my first marriage. And every time he used to come home drinking, drunk, and he used to, my kids were getting old enough. Gina, Peter. Gina was about 10 years old, 11, somewhere maybe 9. And Peter was younger than her, a year younger. And he sit on a bed and he come home, he sit on a bed talking to them. He's complaining all about the bad things that happened to him at Lejac school. He's complaining to the kids. And I'll be in the kitchen either cooking or washing dishes. And I listen to him complaining about Lejac school, all the torture he went through. He said other boys, he said because he looked like a white kid, his hair was kind of blonde. He was 5 years old when his mother, they put him in Lejac school, and he was complaining to the kids about it. He said when his mother and his father used to come to visit them at the school, he tried to, his mother wear long skirt right down to her feet. And he tried to hang on to her skirt saying that he want to go home with her. He don't want to stay there. Because other boys, because they think he's a white kid, they beat him up all the time. He said he don't want to stay in the school. He wants to go home. And his mother just ripped his hand off her skirt and told him, go back inside. You gotta go to school here. She was a mean old woman, just like them sisters. Well, of course, she was half-breed too. Her father was a white person. His name was Colin something. He used to work up and down the rivers with those, what you call those boats. I don't know what they were doing. There was quite a few of them. There was hardly any vehicles come around. Maybe the odd white person would drive by. And mostly in Fort Fraser, they used to have vehicles. And then there's only a few too. A lot of stories going on. I was telling you about my dad and my sister. This was one reserve, and today it's still one reserve, according to the government. But they split up because they couldn't keep crossing each other and do business. And there was no money in it them days. There was no money. Even when I got married, I was 16, 17, I didn't know what money was. When I was a little kid, somebody gave me 5 pennies. They had a store, a brown building, on the east side of the church. And I used to go there for that 5, somebody gave me 5 pennies and I go for penny candies. And then I was going home. Cecile and Doris, I gave them 1 each. And go to Ernie, Buddy, and there went my penny candies. They took it all from me. And then another time, somebody gave me, I don't know if it was Uncle Jimmy or your grandfather. One of them, when I went to the store again for penny candies, the same thing happened. I never got a penny candy. I didn't know what candy was.